Okay, so just had an idea for a YouTube series. Not a channel, just on the regular channel, but doing like a series of videos about critical thinking, and but they're pitched. I guess the distinctive would be that they're pitched towards you being a critical thinker and not towards debunking. So there's lots of debunking channels, they're everywhere, lots of debunking going on. It's like one of the words that's part of the zeitgeist, right? Like, because there's so much bullshit out there. Debunk, debunk, debunk. And this involves critical thinking. And honestly, a lot of debunking shows don't actually give you the theory of their debunking. You know, they're just like, hey, this person said that, I don't know, the world, was made by God 10,000 years ago. Ha ha ha. Actually, that's not true because geology shows that, some well-known scientific facts, blah, 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 blah. But, as useful as that is, that actually makes an assumption there. And the assumption is that claims about the physical world shouldn't come from a book, an ancient religious text, that sort of thing. Or it might be that God doesn't exist, therefore don't pay attention to the Bible, because if you believed that God exists, you might actually pay more attention to it. And so that's kind of underlying the debunking. Or it might be like people misinterpret the Bible even though God does exist, or whatever. Like, there's all kinds of sort of issues that underlie that are arguably more important than the data points, because you have to ask yourself, like, okay, people who believe in young Earth, they know that there is data that is contrary to their position. So to what extent is it really efficient or effective to point this out? To point out the data, right? Because they already know the data. The point is that they've been confronted with the data, or they're at least vaguely aware of the data, and they haven't given it the weight that it needs to be given. That's the problem. So when you consider that, then it's like the debunking videos, it makes you ask, okay, who is this video for? And it's probably not for the person who believes the thing that is being debunked. The video is for the people who might be influenced by the person who is being debunked, right? So it's for the third party that's watching. It's kind of like, in a sports event, say like a boxing match. No, it's not like that, because in the boxing match, the point is to literally defeat your opponent. But that is, it is similar in the sense that you're watching two people spar, or, duke it out, metaphorically speaking. But the video is not made to defeat the opponent. The video is made to defeat the opponent's influence. Okay, so my point is, that's kind of the basic thing that is happening in debunking videos. And there's like a kind of I think that one of the reasons that debunking videos are popular, and I know it is for myself, is that one just loves to watch someone you dislike or disagree with criticized well and put in place. Like, that you just love that, right? And it's not just like spite, but it's also like, oh my goodness, the world is going to shit because people believe all this insane stuff. And so here comes along, Professor Dave or somebody, and it's like, no, this stuff really is insane. Let me walk you through it. Let me thoroughly, put this person in their place. And then that gives you a sort of relief, a kind of sense that, okay, maybe the world isn't going crazy, because at least this guy over here understands, like I do, that facts are important. Okay, like maybe the wackiness of these crazy people is actually being held in check. Maybe it's not as bad as I think, right? So there's a comfort to it. But there's also a gotcha thing too, like, you know, and you see this all over the YouTube, right? It's like videos, even tame videos that are just like a frank discussion, they'll be like framed as though, you know, so-and-so put so-and-so in its place, or, you know, the lies of so-and-so are exposed. And then you watch it and it's like, yeah, it was just a discussion. It wasn't like somebody being put in place. But that just shows you that people are attracted to that. Like, we really want to see that asshole put in place, right? And it's because, like, we want a champion that will champion our cause, and it's comforting to us to see that. Okay, so that's all great. I mean, like, I'm not against all that, but I do think maybe we're a little bit sort of, it's unbalanced in the sense that every debunking video is basically doing that. So you can sit around all day long and watch people you hate being, you know, raked through the coals, and you can go like, ooh, sweet, the world isn't as bad as I think. Maybe we need a little of that. And also, obviously, just setting the record straight is also important. But what I'm trying to get at, and which is something that I think I can do pretty decently, is to take a different approach to the whole critical thinking and debunking thing, and to pitch it not as criticizing somebody else, but focus it in on self-criticism, right? And so to say, okay, how is it that I am not being a critical thinker? Let's just focus on that. Let's not externalize it, because when you externalize it, then it brings all these other things that I've already mentioned, and those things themselves can also be like blockers to critical thinking, because now it's like team us, right? And so you're rooting for team us. Yay, team us. And so once you start doing that, then there's a risk that you're going to abandon critical thinking. And ironically, in the name of critical thinking, you could. Like, I'm not saying everybody does that. And there's a pretty good chance that if you're like into debunking videos, you have a respect for facts. And maybe you're not like just gonna like completely fall into, you know, some kind of bullshit thing. But I think it's still there. The other thing that I think is important, and that this could address, is that you have the problem that not only are debunking videos and that sort of approach to critical thinking, not only is it not designed to change the mind of the person that you're arguing against, but they in fact psychologically and strategically speaking, they kind of guarantee that the person that is being debunked isn't going to be won over. In other words, like, there's facts and there's like strategy, right? So if you're just going to be like a straightforward frontal attack, fact, you're wrong, fact. Okay, as I've already alluded to, like, it's not, the facts aren't the core issue. The facts are important, of course, but the facts aren't the core issue as to why this person believes some wackiness. It's deeper than that, or it's deeper facts that aren't being addressed, right? So, strategically speaking, it would be better to just reach out to individuals, regardless of what their belief sets are, and say, hey, let's just talk about your perception of the world. Are you actually interacting with the world in a way that is truthful and that, you know, is authentic? Because very likely most people, even the most deceived people who fall for the most abject bullshit, probably think that they are that their view of the world is accurate and that they're being authentic. Okay, so that's the key part that we need to go after. And I know the thing about that is that it wouldn't pursue a particular view, and maybe that's why it's not the super popular way to approach things, because you know, everything the algorithm chases is like, you know, current statements and views, And so that's how you get in, like somebody says some idiotic thing, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna make a video about that because everybody's talking about it, right? And so the critical thinking tends to be packaged in the in the trappings of relevance, if I can say it that way. So the thing is, and I'm not saying there's not a place for that. It absolutely is, but I'm just saying there's another piece also, and so that other piece is appealing to everybody's sense that they want to be truthful and authentic and right and accurate about the nature of the world. Everybody wants that. Like, I guarantee every single person in the world wants to know that they have an accurate view of the world. And, we're actually so obsessed about it that's why we fall for weird arguments and why we believe manifest factually untrue information or data posing as information. It's because we have this deep-seated desire to be accurate and truthful about the nature of the world. And I think that this comes from evolution because, think about it, the former humans of the past who understood the true nature of the world and had an accurate view of their surroundings are the ones who survived. The ones that didn't survive, right? So that's probably why we have this like deep desire. It's just built into us because it's a survival instinct. Like, you have to understand where you are in the world in order to survive in that world, right? Now, of course, many of the issues that we debate today are more sophisticated and more complex than that, and our direct survival does not depend in that same urgent way as it did on humans of the past, right? For example, I can deny the value of medicine and have a really completely fuzzy and weird understanding about how to evaluate the effectiveness of medicine, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily keep me from enjoying the benefits of medicine, right? So like, I might be a vaccine denier, let's say, but I get cancer, and then I submit to a regimen of chemotherapy, and then suddenly I'm better, okay? And the whole time I might actually be denying it and saying, well, I'm going to do this just in case, but I'm actually, all my friends are praying for me, and then when they get better, it's like, see, prayer works, right? So you can have like a totally bizarre and fuzzy idea about how things work in the modern world, and you can still survive and you still enjoy the benefits of a worldview that you completely denigrate. But I think that when life was more essential and it was really about not getting eaten, not falling into a swamp, or not falling off of a cliff, finding food and things like that, then there was a more intimate connection between your knowledge of the world and your ability to survive. Okay, so anyway, the point of all this is to say, like, okay, let's talk about the let's just assume that everybody honestly and sincerely wants to have a accurate view of the world, of life, the universe, and everything. And then let's just say, hey, what if we all tried to get better at self-criticism and try to understand how we think and understand how, all the basics of interacting with the world. What are the kind of things that sometimes get us off track? What are the dynamics, sociology, psychology, logical errors, emotion-driven arguments, all those things, which pretty much everybody will attribute to the person they disagree with. Let's switch it around. Let's just put the spotlight on ourselves. And then, it's no longer about issues, though you have to use examples and things like that. So, you would get into some issues, but it takes away, it's kind of a backdoor in a way, to to a lot of the problems, and since it's not as confrontational, then you might actually win more people over to something close to your view, if your view is right. But by you kind of neutralize it, and because the biggest problem with convincing people who are like in a totally bizarre mind frame or mindset is that frontal attack doesn't ever work. And one of the reasons for that is that the people who indoctrinate others already have either an explicit education or an intuition that people sometimes just have about how to counteract attacks from critical thinking, right? And so they'll say, oh, well, when people criticize you, it's just because they're bad, or it's just because, they have been brainwashed by whatever, and so there's just like so many defenses that are already set up. Of course, in religious, it's like it's the devil, whatever. But all those defenses, our kind of sort of basic approach is to always say, oh, that issue, this issue, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about that, you're wrong about that. And then, this just leads to some big argument. Like, obviously there's a place for it. Again, there's a place for that. But, strategically speaking, when you talk to somebody about a difficult issue, attack isn't the recommended approach. I mean, anybody will tell you that who's thought about this, right? It's ask questions, try to show that you value the person, and it's honestly a much slower process. It takes more commitment than just boiling out a bunch of facts and patience. So again, to focus on ourselves, I think, is a really great potential approach, and I just missed my turnoff.